We bring them on up here. James and Oливер Фелпс.
Hi everyone. Yes, hello.
Oh, hey, all right. Mic's on. So, seems like you guys are a little bit excited to see these two. We can sit. You guys enjoyed Dallas?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, we went to town on Friday. Yeah, we went to town on Friday, and it's been fantastic.
I think that works.
Hello, Dallas. Hello.
I think we're good. But hey, to have a backup, not a bad thing. Never hurts. So you guys, let's sit. Or if you've been sitting all weekend, you want to stand up. Oh, looks like you want to sit. So we do want to get through a whole bunch of your questions. Musical chairs, musical water bottles. Never. These are these guys are the mischief makers. I wanted to start off with a little bit, something that I've read you guys say about working on Potter films is that it was very much like going back to school in some respect, each time you were going back, but a fun school. And I wonder, as you're continuing on as actors, is that something that you think was unique to that experience because of the nature of it, as you guys were all growing up with those movies? Or is it something that you feel being kind of the nature of the beast, doing that acting? What's it like, going to school, going to camp all over again?
Yeah, I mean, I think doing the film, the Potter films, was a unique experience entirely because most of the cast were exactly the same throughout. So you already knew, you always just like, as we said, like when you go back to school after a year off or over the summer break, you get straight back into it. You're talking and having fun. So yeah, I think that's what set the Potter films totally separate from anything else. And in terms of doing other work since, it's like starting a new school again. It's the best way to do it. Yeah, go from there.
So, Ollie and James, I'm curious, with outstandingly accomplished parents in those movies, in Mark Williams and Julie Walters, over time did you find yourselves looking into their filmography, the things that they had done? Did you find yourself interested in the work that these amazing names among the cast had gotten into? And I asked specifically the two who played your parents because everybody's like, oh, well, did you see this Die Hard movie that Alan Rickman was in? But did you find yourselves compelled to seek out what they had done?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, we were already big fans of, I mean, it's pretty much the adults in the film are pretty much a who's who of British cinema anyway. So we were very fortunate that we already knew a lot of the films that they'd done prior to Potter, and also we would see them if they'd gone and done another film while shooting Potter. We could speak to them about it. I actually, on the sixth movie, I did a lot of talking with Michael Gambon, saying if you're going to bend someone off, you might as well ask Michael Gambon questions. And he did a film, one of my favourite films of all time is a film called Layer Cake. And he plays okay.
We'll say an unsavory film.
Well, he's kind of like he's a geezer.
He's a geezer, right?
Yeah. And I was asking him, how do you go from that character to say playing Dumbledore, because they're two completely different people. And he essentially said that playing Dumbledore was a bit different because he can't really base him on someone that he's met. Whereas this geezer, he's obviously met a few people like that. So it's just, we were very fortunate because Oliver and I never went to stage school or drama school or any of that. So we were able to ask these amazing actors any questions that we had.
What were some of the things that you gravitated to as fans? I think we have a room full of people that gravitated toward these movies that you guys were in, these parts that you played. Were there books, movies, music? I know that you're both big fans of rock music from some reading I did. What was it for you? What was your fandom growing up?
Fandom, probably sport.
Football. So golf guys, right?
Yeah, golf, rugby, cricket, yeah, all sorts really. So, and a lot of my friends were all into that as well. And obviously movies, I mean, when we were, I suppose we were 12, 11. Like the second generation, I suppose, of Star Wars films came out. So that brought that whole back in everybody's forefront of imagination. Yeah. And to go from that, and then, as you say, music as well, which where we're from, the city we're from is the home of
Birmingham?
From Birmingham, yeah, which is the home of metal music, which isn't
Real
necessarily
metal.
Yeah, which probably isn't necessarily terribly popular, as you could call it, in terms of media. But we're really proud to be from that city, and growing up, we used to go to nightclubs and still go to nightclubs where that music is played in its abundance. And that's the cool bit about when we did the Goblet of Fire, wasn't it? We just turned 18, so legal age to go out clubbing in the UK.
All kinds of trouble you can get into.
It's great, yeah. We're allowed to get our hair down this long and everything, and just go headbanging on a Friday night. Yeah, it's great.
One of the things I picked up on in the litany of different bands that you guys are fans of, I'm a particularly big fan of Queen. And I think about pageantry and drama. Hey, let's hear it for Queen. Is there something about the performance aspect of metal music, rock and roll music, that's really what engages you, or just grabs you?
Maybe. I know that anytime we've been very fortunate to meet a lot of our favourite rock bands. And so I always go a bit, and I think it's because, and then equally and also, I guess it's also sports guys we've met as well. We all kind of have this idea that the other person's world is really amazing and glamorous and all this kind of stuff. And I guess with sports and musicians, you can see the talent there in them, whereas I guess acting, the whole point is that you don't show the talent. So it's that kind of way. But yeah, when we're actually fortunate to, there's a band a couple years ago called Velvet Revolver who and so a couple of times we were able to meet like Scott Weiland and Slash, people like that. And I remember again, I was like, hi. And I remember saying to them, do you ever get nerves? And they're like, oh hell yeah. But it's just part of it, which I've actually done stage work since, and I don't get like overly nervous, but if I'm ever feeling a bit, I think, okay, they play to stage, it's fine.
Well, I wonder, for me personally, I think a lot of people too, Prisoner of Azkaban was a big turning point in the series of movies where some more maturity came to the characters, and there were more layers to what everybody was able to do in the movies. And I wonder if there was a particular point that either of you found in developing these characters over all these years that felt particularly significant. Was there a particularly significant year where you felt like you were getting to grow and stretch your wings a bit?
Yeah, I think Azkaban in the Marauders map scene. That was because it was the first time really that the characters were able to do something which had a meaningful point in the whole. Well, as it turned out, the rest of the whole of Harry Potter's journey, giving him the Marauders map. But at the time, it was great to be able to film so close, and everything was all computer animated, and the map and how all that moved. And I remember filming that, thinking this is a really cool moment to do. Although for some reason they filmed it in the middle of August when it was baking hot outside.
That was actually the hottest day on record in the UK when we filmed that scene. So
Woody had to really need that.
Yeah.
It's a double memory for me.
It was. I think if you would see a photo of the crew filming, they were in like t-shirts and shorts. Meanwhile, we're in like layers and layers of clothes. Like, take the map. It explains what it does on the back. Just go.
Right now, we have a couple lines of a lot of people that want to ask questions. Try to keep your questions short and concise, and just for the benefit of the line, we'll try to get through everybody that we can. We've only got so much time here, so let's start over here on this side, or the other side. Okay.
Did y'all ever play twin pranks on the cast and crew while filming?
Now that was either a look of, I gotta remember, or should I say something?
It's definitely the latter.
I don't know about, we do, don't get us wrong, we did play quite a few pranks when we were filming, but not necessarily switching who was who, because that's too easy. One prank I have done on my brother a few times is signing my hotel room check to his room.
But I think it's a good revenge. We were at a charity auction last year.
The main rule that we have with any Doom pranks, you've got to be able to take them yourself. If you're going to do it, that's the rule. Just so everyone knows. Continue.
Okay. So in payback for the whole room build thing, we were on tables of 10, a big room like this, and they had iPads on the thing, and you could bid on items throughout the whole thing. Every time you bid, it would come up on the screen. You bid! So James, at the end of the night, after, I can't remember how much, but was the proud owner of the, I suppose you used to have it here with baseball cards, what used to come in cigarette packets in like the 20s and 30s of different players. Well, they did it in the UK with cricket players. So James proudly won, for all to see, 400 of these framed cigarette packets.
It was literally this big. I don't know anyone on this thing.
Well, again, the best thing was on Christmas morning when James opened his present, he knew what it was.
Guess what Oliver's birthday present was that year?
Next question over here.
Hi, my name is Mandy. I was wondering, what is one of the weirdest things a fan has ever said to you?
Oh, you guys want me to keep a list.
This weekend? Or? I don't know really.
How are the fans enjoying it?
Sorry, the reason I say I don't know is because genuinely the Potter fan base, compared to what we speak with other guys who are in Star Wars or Star Trek, all that kind of stuff, generally the Potter fans seem very respectful of you. It's not kind of just sign that and go, but they're all they want to engage with you and be just have a chat, and there's no real awkwardness, I guess. So yeah, we're quite lucky in that regard.
Next question over here.
During shooting, what was your favorite and least favorite scene you played?
Favourite scene was the...
I mean, are we okay for spoilers? Everybody in this room? I just want to check.
Favourite scene was on the your ball scene in the Goblet of Fire. That was brilliant. Mainly because we had a load of dance training as well before that, which was a shame we didn't get to see more of it in the film, but a month building up to it, we all had these suits, and it was the week before Christmas as well, so everyone was in a festive mood anyway. And I always remember that was awesome. And least favourite scene, probably a night shoot outside. No, 7 Harris sequence.
I thought what everyone else thought he was going to say then. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, that. But for James, I'm sure his favourite scene was... Oh, your favourite scene was that?
They talk all the time.
Yeah, we do. I guess one of the favourite scenes that we did was again in the Goblet of Fire when the Weezers are on the way to the Quidditch World Cup, and they literally built the whole campsite and everything was going on, like there was fire everywhere when the darkness. There's literally like fire shooting off everywhere, and they didn't tell us exactly what was going to happen to keep the reactions going. But they had fire marshals standing by just in case anything happened. I had ginger hair at this point, long ginger hair. I'm standing, this actually happened. I'm standing by this tent and it's all going, what's happening? Cut, thank you. And all of a sudden I get this spray of foam in my head. The fire guy was like, oh, I'm sorry. Then in equal measure, I guess that would also be one of my least favourite things we did. Because before we did that, we were told, the director was like, we want you to put some like face paint on your face to cheer on Ireland. So okay, I was like, well, no, I want a big shamrock on my face. Like, let's do that. We'd filmed this for 2 weeks, so for every day I had to have a shamrock drawn on. And obviously you can't itch or scratch or touch your face when you've got face paint on. So that was kind of sitting on my hands for 2 weeks. Top it off, I got sprayed by a phone.
Next question.
Okay, if you were a superhero, what would your superhero name be and what would your power be?
A lot of options. Stop time.
Yes, sometimes I think a good answer would be my superpower. Probably something like teleportation or something like that. And I'd be called the Q jump.
There are people who didn't make it and who wish they had that superhero.
I'm going to make a story right now. I really like tea, English tea, so I'd probably be called Tea Man. But I don't get my powers by having tea. And my power would be...
And how is you self-prime with the tea?
No, this is it. This is how I get my powers.
You're getting into his origin story, you're spoiling.
Yes, it's got to wait for the book. And my super... what was yours? What does he do? He jumps queues. Amazing at conventions.
He can teleport. Team.
But my team man would,
Has anybody got a shovel for James to dig it?
yes, he could what? He makes the best tea. He's the best toast in the world.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I just wondered, because J.K. never really released what Fred and George's Patronuses were, so I was wondering what Patronus you guys would choose.
For Fred and George.
How would you rewrite Rome?
You can. It'll be something, I suppose it'll be something quite jokes, quite jovial, quite mischievous maybe.
I'm hearing a lot of people saying foxes.
Yeah,
Calm down.
Yeah,
You're over there.
yeah, a fox. Yeah, and it's ginger as well, so.
Next question.
Hi. How do the casting directors decide which one of you would be Fred and which one of you would be George?
Same match.
Yeah, it was actually the read-through for the first film. So, in a sense, all the cast sits in a big room, and all the tables are there, and you read through the script. And it's about 10 minutes before we're due to start, and we saw there was Chris Columbus, David Heyman, J.K. Rowling, and Jack Lester, who was the head casting director in the room. And we said, "Who's Fred and who's George?" And she said, "You're kidding, right?" So she walked around the room, we saw them talking with each other, and then a minute later she came back and said, "Right, okay, James and Fred, Oливer or George." So we like to think they were just recapping notes from a major board meeting they had. But it probably didn't happen that way.
Next.
Okay, I have twin siblings, or identical twin siblings, so it's kind of weird. Identical twins. They both speak and use it all the time, accidentally. I don't know, often you do that when you're not acting.
Any magical twin stories?
No, not really. Yeah, do we speak in unison? Occasionally, maybe when we were younger. But I don't know, it's because we're always in the same, like, my theory for this is, I guess it doesn't happen all the time, but I guess if you're in the same, pretty much in the same room as someone all your life growing up, you're kind of going to have the same reactions to stuff, and that's kind of where I think that the jumping in on lines, but also Oliver likes to take the shine, as you probably tell. He sabotaged my microphone at the start of this.
He was too busy making his tea.
Next.
Okay. Hi. So what I want to know is, throughout all of the filming of every movie of Harry, I can't speak, I'm so sorry, of every Harry Potter movie that you guys did.
It's okay, just breathe. Just breathe.
Was it hard for you guys to get into character, or are you guys just naturally mischief makers?
I don't see a lot of mischief going on the stage.
Yeah, it was quite easy, I suppose, because at that age, I suppose what 14-year-old lad isn't up for a laugh and a joke, and do anything to get out of his schoolwork. So yeah, it was quite easy to get into the character set. And that's like our mates at school were all like that, we all have jokes with each other. So it was just, to begin with, just portraying a more enhanced version of yourself, really. And we would have jokes with people on set as well, so just keep it going well.
Thanks.
Hi, I wanted to know what cologne you use.
Most popular question of the day. Sounds like. Oda Phelps?
Yeah, Oda Phelps. No, it's Lacoste, I think. Yeah, I've got a Duke for on the way here.
Yeah, don't answer and get an endorsement.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, hold back.
Oda Phelps. That was it, yeah. With PG tip.
English purpose.
Next.
Hi, what was both of your reactions when you found out Fred was dying?
Spoiler.
We disclaimed it.
I've actually told the story, so I apologise if anyone heard this before. We were in Japan when the final book came out, and I was on the bullet train, and I just got to that particular chapter. Just as I'm literally reading it, and without sounding all arty-party actor person, it was literally like reading in like a friend of mine had died. It was really, which surprised that's reading it surprised me, and then I was more surprised by my reaction to reading what had happened, like how I was feeling. I was like, oh. As I'm doing that, this Japanese ticket man came around and was kind of pointing at me and said something in Japanese, which I assumed was, can I see your ticket? And I was kind of like, hang on, I just died. Yeah. And he was like, oh, ticket. I was like, dead. So, it kind of like was a complete whirlwind of emotions in that time, but it was very surprising, but equally it was, in a way it was, I don't want to say cool, it wasn't cool, but it was different for the fact that it kind of affirms people that twins aren't always together. They don't have to be together to be individual people. So it was that kind of thing. I don't really know how to describe it. How did you feel?
I'm glad I just lost an ear. Yeah, it was interesting. As James said, it was in one way it was quite good that it wasn't both of them went down together. And I think it was even more poignant that Fred was with Percy at the time than not with George, because it just shows that they're all brothers. Just because they're twins doesn't mean that he's going to be around with him a lot more than the other. But yeah, that's kind of it. And even more thankful that it happened in the last book and not the first.
If I can ask a quick follow-up. That scene in particular, it personally hit me pretty hard. I have a related experience, and I'm curious about the preparation for that. Is that something that you really had to do a lot of meditative work about what that would be like?
Well, not for me. Actually, going back to easiest days on set, that was one of the easiest days on set.
Yeah, there was a little bit of it, yeah, because you had to get into the moment where you're thinking, everybody at some point unfortunately has lost someone close to them, and it's getting yourself into that mindset and almost feeling that thing. And I remember Julie Walters, I actually got spoke to Julie Walters about it a couple of weeks before. And I said, how do you get into a mindset like that? So the best thing is to just really involve yourself in that emotion. And when you go to set, just be in that. If someone tries to talk to you, just almost blank. So you're in that set. You can always apologise afterwards that you didn't talk to someone, and they'll understand that you're in character, you're in the zone. So on terms with that, and getting a load of eucalyptus blown in my face, so I was like crying. It was, it was quite an interesting day. But I was told beforehand that it would be a closed set, meaning that it would literally be like the Weasleys and the camera, and that was it. Instead, we get to film, and the whole great hall is filled with people and bodies and stuff. So that was, if anything, that was more weird, crying in front of a load of people than anything else. But subsequently, since, I think people take a story like that and overdo it. So it must happen on a weekly basis. Somebody sends me a thing on Twitter saying, "Is this true?" And there's this photo, because it's a photo we text on the internet, it's not true. And it's this whole paragraph about how James and I were in floods of tears throughout the whole build into the process, and we hugged each other and said, "I love you" at the end of it. But I suppose that's people want it to be as real as possible, and I can kind of get where people make stuff like that up from, because it sounds a hell of a lot friendlier, or a lot more romantic than he fell asleep on the floor and we all went to lunch.
Well, it's wonderful work either way.
Yeah, it wasn't. I've got to be honest, it wasn't a nice day filming at all. It was quite draining doing that.
It wasn't let's go for milkshakes after.
No, it wasn't that at all. It was it was good when it was done. Anyway, it's good when it's done.
It's amazing work. Let's hear it for him. Next question.
I was wondering, now that the Harry Potter films has kind of come to a close, what is your favorite part of your career after the Harry Potter series?
You guys are loving auditions? Is that just your version of fun?
Yeah, that's always fun. Especially when I've been, last year I went to something called Pilot Season in LA, which is when basically they cast every new TV show within like 4 weeks. And so every day is an audition. And I'd never auditioned in the US before. In the UK, when you go into an auditioning room, you sit down and there's kind of like an etiquette. If you see the other people, it's like, hey, how's it going?
There's tea.
No, there's no tea.
Just a bit of tea, man, would be useful.
See? No.
Ketchup would be even better.
So anyway, the etiquette, like in the UK, you go and you say hello. It's a very neutral, friendly experience. In the US, first one I walked into, it was there's like one other guy in the room, completely empty, and I was like, hey, how's it going, man? He just looked. Alright. Just kind of sit there, and then another guy comes in. He just looks. There's like 5 chairs in this room, and he just looks at me and then looks at the other guy and goes. Signs in, then gets out on IMDb and starts looking at what everyone else has done. So I was like, okay. Anyway, that's what I've been doing now. Sorry, to answer your question, I guess it would be...
You guys were in an episode of Kingdom with Stephen Fry.
Yeah, we've done a bit of TV, and I've also done stage work as well, like I said in the UK, which was absolutely fantastic because we had 3 weeks to do this show, like to rehearse it before you put it on. And you kind of just have to completely immerse yourself in it, because if you don't, you're going to get found out in front of like, as many people are in this room, and that's not a good place you want to be. So it was weird. I kind of did everything I didn't do for my exams at school, so I did okay in this stage. And to be honest with you, I think that was probably the highlight of what I've done post Potter.
What was that show?
It was a new comedy in the UK show called The Life of Woody, I think it was called. But basically it was a Jewish comedy. I'm not Jewish. So we would do these lines, and then in rehearsals there would be no one to listen or laugh or whatever, because it was empty theatre. So on the night there's certain parts which were funny for everybody, but when you could always tell when there's a big Jewish presence because all of a sudden they'll start laughing in the middle of a scene.
Changes completely when you get it on its feet. Next question.
Hi, first of all, Oliver, yesterday you asked me if there was anything interesting to do with Dallas. Forgive me for being starstruck. Next time you're here, Sunday at Square dueling pianos. My question is...
It's on his list. He's wearing cowboy boots.
Okay, my question is, you've had some amazing, dazzling coworkers over the years. Of course, Alan Rickman, Maggie Smith. I'm wondering if you have any stories about somebody in particular.
Alan Rickman pranking Maggie Smith.
Not that I'd say here, to be honest with you. As bad an answer as that is for everyone.
Was it that sort of kind of a familial atmosphere of, you don't tell tales about the family reunion?
Yeah, certain stuff, yeah, certain things are doing. Just because everyone's at their own paces, but yeah, I remember, a nice story what Alan did was there was one of the doubles, she was doing her some coursework for her exams, and she had to do a piece about, I can't remember what it was, documentary piece almost, and he offered and did narrated this piece for her exam, which is going to be pretty cool if you tell you're rocking it with an A there and then, aren't you? But just stuff like that was just nice, and you didn't have to do stuff like that, but on hand to her.
Next.
Hi.
Is that Harley Quinn?
What was a sadder moment? When Fred dies, or when Hogwarts when Hogwarts completely collapses at the end?
Think before you answer.
Real big stakes.
After you, James.
When Hogwarts burnt down, obviously. I don't know, to be honest with you, it was... I just really feel everyone's eyes looking on me. I guess they're both pretty sad, but they're both meaningful in the story. Just separate, but yeah, very.
Next.
First, I want to say you guys did great in the movies, in my opinion. But my question is, what's your favorite out of all the animals in the books and the movies, like pygmy puffs, owls, hippogriffs?
Choose carefully. Buckbeak is listening.
Favourite? Yeah, probably hippogriffs. Just because they, it's quite an odd type of animal being. And yeah, we saw, also when they're filming it, they actually had the different models. And we used to go to the art department every week just to have a little nose and see what's coming up. And you see the progression of how these animals are developing. And they'd say, okay, this design's going to produce this week. See what they come back with, and then they change it a bit. So yeah, so I remember seeing that whole process all the way through. Really.
I think mine would be the dragon in the fourth movie. Simply because they did actually build a dragon, which I don't know why, but it was to detail. And obviously there's a scene in the fourth movie when Fred and George scream, "Well done, dragon!" There you go. Which was like that. Which was one of my favourite lines that we did. So that was I'd say the dragon.
Next.
Hi. Did you ever switch roles on set?
No. We did in a rehearsal once on the first film, but we didn't actually do it when filming. Mainly because if you think the amount of people in this room now, times that by a couple, is the crew who are working that day on a film set. And if you're responsible for everybody working extra, like overtime or having to come in over the weekend because of you messing it up, I didn't really want to be part of that. Yeah. But then, and as I say, going back to people romanticising about stories, we've read stuff that they've had to reshoot half the film in the Chamber of Secrets because we swapped. Fred and George are dressed exactly the same in this film. So.
Next. We're good? Oh, okay. Would you guys do me a favor? Lead us in a round of applause for our volunteers. Everybody, let's keep it going and amp it up for Oliver and James Phelps.
Thank you very much. Guys, let me just say that actually this time last year I actually did a road trip of Texas, so I love this state, it's great. We've actually got my cardboard box on now. But also, it is true about Southern hospitality, and you guys have probably been the nicest guys we've ever done at
Yeah, we
time,
were.
so.
We were super bad, so we did it last night and how polite everybody's been here. It's been really enjoyable being here, and we'd love to come back sometime and see you guys soon. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.